Sophie, I want to describe a moment today, and I want everyone listening to notice as we describe it how many times this exact moment has happened in their own life.
Okay, walk us in.
You are at work, your manager pulls you aside, or a colleague sends you a message, or a client asks you something in a meeting, and they make a request that honestly you do not want to agree to. Maybe it's extra work you don't have time for. Maybe it's a change to a plan you don't agree with. Maybe it's a deadline that is unrealistic. Maybe it's an idea that you can see is going to fail. And you can feel in your body the no wanting to come out. You know the right response. In your native language, you would have negotiated, pushed back, asked clarifying questions, made a counteroffer, held the line.
Yes.
But this conversation is in English, and in English, the negotiation feels heavier. The pushback feels harder to construct. The counteroffer requires energy you don't have in this moment, and you can feel a small voice inside you calculating the cost. How much energy will it take to negotiate this in English? How likely am I to be misunderstood? How much easier would it be to just agree? And in that moment, you open your mouth and you hear yourself say it. Sure, yes, no problem, happy to. I can do that.
And the conversation ends, the person walks away satisfied, and you sit there with the yes that you did not mean, feeling the weight of it in your chest, feeling the extra work now on your plate, feeling the bad decision you did not push back on, feeling the boundary you did not protect, all because negotiating in English felt too expensive in that moment.
And here is the painful part. This is not a small thing. This happens week after week, year after year, for advanced bilingual professionals across the world, and the cumulative cost is enormous. Career damage, boundary erosion, resentment, burnout, loss of professional identity.
And almost no one talks about it, because admitting it feels like admitting weakness, like admitting that your English is not good enough to protect yourself, when in reality, this has almost nothing to do with your English level. It has to do with a specific trade-off your brain makes when linguistic effort collides with your actual boundaries.
The trade-off is this. Your brain in a stressful English moment will often prioritize linguistic safety over your real interests. It will choose the response that requires the least linguistic work, even when that response damages your real life. Because the linguistic effort of pushing back feels immediate, the cost of agreeing feels distant, and the brain always weights the immediate more heavily than the distant.
And today, we are going to expose this pattern completely. We are going to name it. We are going to explain the psychology behind it. We are going to identify the 4 types of fake yes that advanced bilingual professionals fall into. And we are going to give you a specific toolkit of boundary-preserving language that lets you push back in English with confidence, without escalating conflict, and without draining all your energy.
Welcome to Side by Side English Podcasts. I'm Mark.
I'm Sophie. Today is for the advanced bilingual professional who keeps agreeing to things in English that they would push back on in their native language, who feels the weight of accumulated fake yeses, who wonders where their career would be if they had held their ground more often. We are going to change that pattern today.
Stay with us. We have the linguistic safety exchange explained, why advanced learners get trapped even at high fluency levels, the 4 types of fake yes, the boundary-preserving language toolkit, the 3-second pause rule that gives your real answer time to emerge, a role-play showing the fake yes versus the boundary response, and a word tour with 6 powerful B2 to C1 words.
Quick comment question before we begin. Be honest. Have you said yes to something at work this week just because it was too exhausting to negotiate in English? Drop the situation. We want to see how universal this is.
Okay, let's take back the no. So Sophie, let's start with the psychology. What is actually happening in the moment when the fake yes comes out?
Okay, so this is a specific cognitive trade-off that happens in your brain, often below conscious awareness. In any professional interaction, your brain is doing several things at once. It is tracking the content of the conversation, it is monitoring the emotional dynamics, it is calculating what response protects your interests, and in a second language, it is also calculating the linguistic cost of producing each possible response.
And in a native language, the linguistic cost is essentially zero. The words come, the negotiation happens, the pushback flows. There is no separate calculation about whether you have the energy to say what you actually mean.
But in a second language, especially in a stressful moment, the linguistic cost becomes suddenly visible. Your brain starts to feel the weight of constructing the pushback, the vocabulary you would need, the grammar, the diplomatic phrasing, the tone that avoids sounding rude. All of it has to be assembled in real time, under pressure, with a human being looking at you.
And in that moment, the brain runs a silent equation. The cost of pushing back in English feels enormous right now. The cost of just saying yes feels tiny. Yes is easier. Let's take yes. And the yes comes out before you have consciously decided anything.
And this is what we are calling the linguistic safety trade. You trade your real boundary for the linguistic ease of agreement. In the moment, the trade feels rational because you save immediate energy, but over time, the accumulated cost of these trades is devastating.
And here is the cruel irony. Advanced learners often experience this more than intermediate learners, not less, because advanced learners have more nuanced things they want to say, more sophisticated pushback they can imagine constructing, more refined counterarguments in mind, which means the gap between what they want to say in English and what would take real effort to actually produce is wider. So the temptation to just say yes is stronger.
Beginners often stumble through boundaries with broken English, which sometimes actually works because the discomfort of the interaction pushes the other person to accept the partial response. But advanced learners feel the pressure to deliver polished English, and so they either produce the polished response with enormous effort, or they collapse into the polite yes.
And the polite yes wins most of the time because the cost of polished pushback is too high in the moment.
Let's identify the 4 types of fake yes, because if you can spot them in your own life, you can start to interrupt them.
Yes, 4 types.
Type 1, the extra work yes.
This is the most common one. Someone asks you to take on additional responsibility, cover an extra task, join a project that will drain your time, and you feel the no wanting to come because you know your current workload, you know the impact, you know it is a bad idea. But saying no in English requires constructing a diplomatic explanation, weighing the tone, managing the interpersonal moment. And so, sure, I can help with that, comes out, and you walk away with new work you did not want.
Type 2, the bad idea yes.
This happens in meetings. Someone proposes an idea. You can see immediately that it is flawed. You have specific reasons, you have alternative suggestions, but voicing them in real time in English in front of a group feels linguistically expensive. So you nod. You say, yeah, sounds good. And you watch a bad decision get made in front of you without contributing what you actually thought.
Type 3, the unrealistic deadline yes.
A client asks you if you can deliver by Friday. You know you cannot. You know Monday is more realistic, but negotiating a deadline in English requires stating your reasons, offering an alternative, and holding your position under pushback, which feels exhausting in the moment. So, yes, Friday works. And now you have committed to something you cannot deliver, which will cause much bigger problems in a few days.
Type 4, the end the conversation yes.
This is the most subtle one. A conversation is going long, it's late in the day, your English brain is tired. Someone asks you a question that you would normally engage with thoughtfully, but you don't have the energy to negotiate. So you agree to whatever they said just to end the interaction, because the linguistic cost of prolonging the conversation feels unbearable in that specific moment.
4 types: extra work, bad ideas, unrealistic deadlines, conversation exit. And every one of them costs you something real: career currency, professional reputation, personal energy, boundary integrity.
And the cumulative effect over months and years is what we call the agreeable prison, the pattern of consistently sacrificing your real interests for linguistic ease, until one day you look at your life and realize that a huge amount of what you're doing is stuff you didn't actually want to agree to, but agreed to in English because saying no in English felt too hard.
And breaking out of this prison requires two things: a specific toolkit of boundary-preserving language and a specific psychological practice that gives your real answer time to emerge.
Let's start with the toolkit, because most learners simply don't have the phrases ready when they need them. And when the phrases are not available, the fake yes comes out by default.
Yes, let's give the audience 5 categories of boundary-preserving phrases, each one designed for a different type of pushback moment.
Category 1, the delayed yes.
These phrases buy you time to think without committing to anything. Let me check my capacity and get back to you. I need to look at my calendar before I can commit. Give me a few hours to think this through and I'll respond.
And what Bs do is they give you a graceful exit from the moment of pressure, so you can respond later in writing when you have the linguistic energy to construct a real answer, instead of committing to something in a stressful real-time moment when your English brain cannot manage the negotiation.
Category 2, the soft counteroffer.
These phrases push back on the request while offering an alternative. I can't take that on this week, but I could look at it next Tuesday. Friday is going to be too tight, but I can commit to Monday. I can't lead this project, but I could contribute in a specific way.
And these are powerful because they do not simply say no, they redirect, which feels less confrontational to the other person and more constructive, and gives you a much better outcome than either fake yes or hard no.
Category 3, the clarifying pushback.
These phrases use questions to signal disagreement without directly opposing. Can you help me understand what problem this solves? What would we be trading off if we went with this approach? How do we see this working with the existing timeline?
And these are wonderful because they are not technically pushback, they are questions, but they force the other person to defend their proposal, which often reveals the flaws and moves the conversation toward a better outcome without you having to say, I disagree, directly.
Category 4, the honest constraint.
These phrases name your real limits without apology. I need to be honest, my plate is completely full this month. Given everything else on my list, I don't think I can commit to this well. I want to give this the attention it deserves, and I don't have that bandwidth right now.
And these work because they lead with honesty about your situation, which most professionals actually respect, and they position your no as coming from responsibility, not from resistance, which changes how it lands.
Category 5, the direct professional no.
These are the phrases you say for moments when a clear no is required, and they are shorter than most learners think. No, that's not going to work for me. I'm not able to do that this week. That's not something I can commit to right now.
And the surprise for many learners is these direct no's are perfectly acceptable in modern global professional English. They are not rude, they are clear, and clarity is respected in most business environments, especially when delivered without hostility.
5 categories: delayed yes, soft counteroffer, clarifying pushback, honest constraint, direct professional no. Practice at least one from each category. Say them out loud until they feel comfortable in your mouth, so that when the fake yes moment arrives, you have something to deploy instead.
And now the psychological piece, because the phrases alone are not enough. You also need a small practice that interrupts the automatic fake yes before it comes out.
Yes, the 3-second pause rule.
The rule is simple. When someone makes a request in English that you feel is unreasonable, before you say anything, count silently to 3. That's it. 3 seconds of intentional silence between the request and your response.
And what happens in those 3 seconds is enormous because the fake yes is automatic. It's your brain choosing linguistic safety in a fraction of a second. 3 seconds of silence interrupts that automatic response. It gives your real answer time to surface. It gives your boundary time to register. It gives your prefrontal cortex time to catch up with the emotional impulse to agree.
And in those 3 seconds, one of your boundary-preserving phrases has time to come to mind, which means you have a real chance of deploying it instead of defaulting to the fake yes that would have come out in half a second.
And the beautiful thing is, 3 seconds of pause is not weird. It does not read as strange to the other person. Native English speakers pause all the time before important responses. In many contexts, a thoughtful pause actually communicates seriousness, signals that you are considering the request carefully, which itself increases your professional authority.
So the pause is not a cost, it is a small investment, 3 seconds to rescue your real answer from the linguistic safety trade.
Okay, let's do a role play. Mark, set the scene.
Yes, Sophie will play Priya, a mid-level manager. Her director walks up to her at 4 p.m. on Thursday and asks her to lead a new cross-functional project starting Monday. Priya knows her plate is completely full. She knows this project will burn her out, but her director is standing right there, expecting an answer.
Version 1, the fake yes.
Priya, I need someone to lead the vendor integration project starting Monday. It's going to require probably 20 hours a week for the next 2 months. I know it's on top of your other work, but I really need someone who can hit the ground running, and you're the obvious choice. Can you take it on?
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, if you need me to, I can definitely make it work. Yes, I'll take it.
And listen to what just happened. Priya knew before the director finished speaking that she should not agree. She had specific reasons. Her current workload was already unsustainable. Her existing projects would suffer. Her personal energy was already depleted. But when the moment arrived, the linguistic cost of constructing a diplomatic pushback felt overwhelming. So the fake yes came out.
And Priya walks away with 2 months of new work on top of what she already had. Her existing projects will slip, her stress will spike, her health will decline, and when the projects start to fail, she will be blamed. All because saying no in English felt too expensive in that specific 30-second moment.
Now version 2. Same Priya, same director, same request, but Priya uses the 3-second pause and the boundary toolkit. Priya, I need someone to lead the vendor integration project starting Monday. It's going to require probably 20 hours a week for the next 2 months. I know it's on top of your other work, but I really need someone who can hit the ground running, and you're the obvious choice. Can you take it on?
Silent pause, 3 seconds. Let me be honest with you. I want to make sure we set this project up for success, and given my current workload, I don't think I can lead it well. My plate is completely full with the existing initiatives. I could see 2 options. Either we look at what I could offload from my current work to make room, or we consider someone else who has more capacity. What do you think makes the most sense?
And listen to the difference. Priya used the pause. She used the honest constraint category. She used the soft counteroffer category. She named her constraint without apology. She offered 2 constructive alternatives. She invited the director into a real conversation about capacity and priorities.
And the director, hearing this, does not walk away angry. He walks away impressed because Priya just demonstrated professional maturity. She protected her existing work, she raised the capacity issue that he needed to consider, and she moved the conversation from a rushed hallway request to a real strategic discussion.
Same Priya, same request. 2 completely different outcomes created by a 3-second pause and a few boundary-preserving phrases, instead of the fake yes that would have destroyed her next 2 months.
Word tour?
Word tour.
First word, boundary. Boundary is the line that defines what you are and are not willing to accept. In professional life, boundaries are one of the most important things you can protect, and the fake yes pattern is essentially a slow erosion of your boundaries under linguistic pressure.
For example, every fake yes in English is a small violation of your own boundaries, made in exchange for the linguistic ease of agreement. Repeat, boundary.
Boundary.
Next, to capitulate. To capitulate means to give in, to surrender, to stop resisting. It is a stronger, more precise word than agree, and it captures exactly what happens in the fake yes moment. You do not simply agree, you capitulate to the linguistic pressure of the interaction.
For example, when you capitulate to a request in English just because pushing back felt too expensive, you are making a linguistic decision, not a professional one. Repeat, capitulate.
Capitulate. Next, assertive. We have used this word before, but it applies perfectly here. Assertive is the sweet spot between passive and aggressive. It is the confident, clear, direct professional register that lets you protect your boundaries without hostility. And it is the register that boundary-preserving phrases are designed to produce.
For example, learning to speak assertively in English is one of the most valuable professional skills a bilingual worker can develop because it protects everything else you build. Repeat, assertive.
Assertive. Next, to erode. Erode means to wear away slowly through repeated small effects, just as water erodes stone over years. Fake yeses erode your professional standing, your energy, your health, and your career trajectory, not in one big collapse, in small daily contributions.
For example, the Agreeable Prison erodes your career slowly, one small yes at a time, until you look up and realize you've been building someone else's life instead of your own. Repeat, erode.
Erode. Next, diplomatic. Diplomatic means skillfully navigating a sensitive situation without causing offense, and it is what most learners think they need to be in every professional interaction, which is fine in moderation, but excessive concern for diplomacy is often what pushes learners into the fake yes.
For example, you can be both diplomatic and firm, and the boundary-preserving phrases are designed to give you exactly that combination in real time. Repeat, diplomatic.
Diplomatic. And finally, to reclaim. To reclaim something means to take it back after it has been lost or given away. And the whole purpose of today's episode is to help you reclaim the boundaries that the linguistic safety trade has been quietly taking from you for years.
For example, the work of reclaiming your professional boundaries in English is one of the most impactful projects you can undertake because it changes not just one conversation, but the whole trajectory of your career. Repeat, reclaim.
Reclaim.
6 words today: boundary, capitulate, assertive, erode, diplomatic, and reclaim. Every one of them is a real, useful, modern English word that captures something specific about the dynamics of professional communication and personal integrity.
And every one of them is a word that maps directly to the pattern we exposed today and the practice of breaking free from it.
Sophie, one final takeaway for everyone watching: that the fake yeses you've been giving in English all these months and years have not been signs of politeness. They have been signs of a specific trade your brain has been making without your permission between linguistic ease and your actual boundaries. And the trade has been costing you dearly. Every fake yes is a small deposit of resentment, extra work, damaged health, and career distortion.
And the fix is not to become rude. The fix is to develop a small set of boundary-preserving phrases that let you push back with grace and confidence in real time, combined with the 3-second pause that gives your real answer time to emerge before the automatic fake yes takes over.
And the version of you who has been agreeing to things they didn't want, working on projects they didn't believe in, watching bad decisions get made without pushing back is not your real professional self. That version is you trapped in the agreeable prison. Once you have the toolkit and the pause, the real you, the one with clear judgment and healthy boundaries, can finally show up in your professional life.
Small challenge before we go. For the next 7 days, use the 3-second pause rule at least once per day in a real conversation. Anytime someone asks you for something in English, before you respond, pause for 3 silent seconds, just 3, and then respond with whatever comes to you after that pause.
And notice what happens. Notice how many times after the pause, a boundary-preserving response actually comes to mind instead of the fake yes. Notice how the pause feels less awkward than you thought it would. Notice how the other person receives your paused response, often with more respect than they would have given a rushed yes.
Because 7 days of practicing the pause is enough to start rewiring the automatic pattern. The fake yes starts to lose its grip. The real answer starts to come out more often, and your professional life begins to move back toward the version you actually want.
Drop a comment after the week. Tell us what you paused before. Tell us what came after. Tell us if you protected a boundary you would have surrendered before. We want to hear the wins.
Because the moment a bilingual professional realizes they can protect their boundaries in English without exhausting themselves, without escalating conflict, without sounding rude, is one of the freeing moments in their entire career. The agreeable prison door opens and they walk out.
I'm Sophie.
I'm Mark. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being willing to name a pattern that has been quietly costing you for years.
Pause first. Protect the boundary. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.